Acevedo of Windows Central, coming at you from E3 2015.
Hey there, this is Kayd Hendricks. I am the Senior Technical and Gameplay Designer on ARK Survival Evolved.
Obviously, this is running on PC. What other platforms are you planning to bring it to?
We are currently, by the end of the month, we should be working on Linux and Mac, and then by the end of May, early June, I believe we're aiming for June 2nd, we should actually have the game available on PS4 and Xbox One as well.
In 2016?
Yep, 2016.
So is ARK an early access title?
Yes, it is currently in early access. The big thing to note about early access is that we have lots and lots of optimization to do on how well this game runs. It's gotten much, much better since we launched, but as I mentioned, this is being played on a Titan X, and we're pulling about 30 frames a second here. We obviously want to do a lot better than that, and of course on lower end systems, we want the performance to be much better.
So what's the idea behind ARK?
So, ARK is a survival game. It's not quite the same as the other survival games out there because we've got a very large focus on players being cooperative and interacting rather than just going out on their own and kind of... We wanted to get away from the idea that you needed to be antagonistic to every other human you meet in the survival situation. It's a little bit unrealistic, and it's unfortunate for gameplay when every time you run into another player, your first thought is, well, I'd better bludgeon them to death with a rock before they can take my stuff. We wanted it to be more of a little bit more deep in terms of the gameplay, so that the questions you ask when you meet a new player are more about how can that particular player help me to survive better, rather than what can I take from that player and how can I take advantage of them. We wanted to encourage that cooperation a lot more.
So what's an example of a thing you could cooperate on?
So we have big villages. These can be made by pretty much anybody. We really, really encourage that our building and crafting mechanics be used. The biggest hurdles that are to be overcome in this game are not just these very, very large underground caves that we have. We have underwater caves that can be explored with dinosaurs and creatures that you can tame and swim in the water with. But we've also got these huge boss monsters that you can fight, and defeating them is kind of leans towards the eventual goal of the game, because we do have an end game in ARK. It's not just a mindless surviving the game. We do actually have an end game that you can strive towards, and it's gonna, in most cases, require that you cooperate with other players, because the bosses aren't something you can generally tackle by yourself. Building huge villages, taming dinos even, is a very large endeavor for the player, because taming them takes a very long time, and you're very vulnerable when you're taming the creatures. So you can be attacked while you're trying to keep them down, and having people around to assist with that kind of stuff is absolutely important. It's almost necessary. You can play by yourself, you can actually manage by yourself, and you can do most of the things in the game single player, but you're really going to get the best experience if you're playing with other people.
And are there also circumstances in which players will be aggressive towards each other?
Absolutely. We have both player versus player and kind of player versus environment servers that are available. The player versus environment disables the PvP access, so players aren't going to be as antagonistic. But the PvP servers are full PvP. You can destroy anything of anybody's, and we've actually had some really great stories and really great videos and experiences from players already where they have been raided, their base that, you know, they worked on for hours and hours and hours as a team. They got together, built this big thing, and somebody swooped in with a bunch of dinosaurs, destroyed all their stuff, and they were set back quite a bit. But rather than being frustrated, rather than giving up or anything like that, they banded together, moved their stuff, built up again and went and found the people who had killed them and destroyed all of their stuff and got sweet, sweet vengeance against them. You know, got to loot all their stuff, walk away with a huge bounty of items and rare artifacts and stuff like that. So we've had a lot of those kind of experiences come out inside the game on top of the great player versus environment stuff like the bosses and the ability to build these huge communities together.
So you mentioned an endgame. Is that a long-term kind of thing? How long does it take to get there?
Right now, it's not quite as long. If you have like a good dedicated group who are working specifically towards getting to endgame, you're probably looking at putting in about a week or so of time before you beat our big boss that we have in the game currently. This flag is actually a reward you get from beating that boss. But the eventual end goal is going to require not only that you defeat 3 of these huge bosses, but that you've explored every nook and cranny of the island, gotten all of the artifacts which will be hidden in caves and underwater and in all sorts of other kind of esoteric and dangerous locations. On top of the mountains, you can see these mountains. Those are not set pieces. You can actually fly there. You can climb the mountains. You can see these huge obelisks. Again, they're not just set pieces. You can go there. You can do all sorts of really, really cool stuff at the base of those obelisks, where you can summon the bosses and stuff like that. And that end game, we hope, will take a much longer time to eventually achieve.
Tell me a little bit about the dinosaurs in the game.
So right now we have, I believe, about 25 or 30 dinosaurs that are fully implemented. We've picked a lot of the more popular ones to start off: Parasaur, T-Rex, Brontosaurus, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, a lot of the ones that people will be very familiar with. We're probably going to get about 70 in total, not 70 more. The eventual goal, is about 70, 75 dinosaurs totally implemented into the game. The vast majority of them are tameable, rideable. You can set them to defend your house. They've got special attacks. We've got flyers. We've got deep sea creatures like megalodons. We've got coelacanth, the giant fish. We've got piranhas. Just a huge variety of both prehistoric creatures and the dinosaurs themselves. There you can see a pterodon. These guys, you can tame them. You can fly them all over the island. We've also got Argentavis magnificens, which is an extremely enormous vulture. So we've got a huge variety of creatures that we're putting in. Actually, as of current, we're expecting to put in a lot more, I want to call them more ambient creatures. They're not these large human-sized dinosaurs. They're things like giant dragonflies, giant frogs, all sorts of prehistoric creatures that you'll be able to tame and you'll be able to use them, but they kind of fill out the environment more and bring the island to life a lot more. It's going to be huge. We've got about 15,000 creatures that actually populate the island currently. That doesn't include players, of course. It's just the number of active live dinosaurs that are on the map at any given time.
Well, I think what we all want to know is, does your game have the super dinosaur from Jurassic World?
We want to. It may be the case that certain copyright issues and stuff get in the way there. I believe we have actually reached out to talk to them and see what we can do there, but obviously we can't make any promises. Plus, we've already got this really, really beautiful T-Rex. He's so pretty.
Well, good. The Jurassic World dinosaur is kind of goofy anyway.
What we really need is a motorcycle so that you can ride around with your raptors.
Yeah, how about that? Are there any human vehicles then?
We plan to have some. I'm not sure what exact designs we have in play for those are quite yet, but I know that we do want to have some human vehicles that are available to the player that will be large, multiplayer construction projects and will have some unique strengths and weaknesses that the dinosaurs don't quite cover, like being able to completely defend yourself from incoming fire and stuff like that inside of maybe a Jeep or some other kind of covered vehicle. Those things, of course, would be more vulnerable to explosives and all those sorts of things. So we do have some unique ideas for actual modern kinds of vehicles
players can play this at once, by the way?
Right now, the server capacities, at least on the official servers, are set to 70. We want to aim to be able to smoothly play the game with up to about 100 players by the time we launch. The island is just big enough to support that many. It can get a little bit cramped on the beaches at times because that's where all of your players inevitably spawn in at to kind of start the game off. But we're constantly working on ways to kind of move people inland and try and keep them away from congregating at the beaches and causing a stuff up of players there because we want people to explore the island a lot more.
Great, well thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming and seeing the game.